Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mer Herosner Podcast, Season 3, Episode 13. I'm your host, Vika Slanian, and we are live on YouTube and Facebook, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We scratched Telegram.
Yeah,
they don't work.
There's too many things to follow, man.
I know, seriously.
Even for me.
Yep.
It's like, all right, let me just stick to a couple things.
It's Thursday, January 12th, 2023.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm your host, Vika Slanian, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Mike Balian, where we discuss our great Armenian history covering different eras, topics, and people. Thank you to everyone who's joining us live on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and thumbs up to this video. And if you're watching this on Facebook, please like and share with family and friends. Our topic tonight is King Abas Bagratuni, the true story of the Armenian monarch. We'll be covering his life and his rise to power after the death of his brother Ashot the Iron in 929. When we talked about Ashot last episode, we kind of dove into the details of his life. And so this is going to be a good one.
Yeah. We're done with Yusuf.
Really? We are?
Sort of.
I didn't like that part, but once I was like, I don't want to say that. So another thing I want to say is we are excited to announce that Haraid, aka Hawk, who was on our show a few episodes back, we did the Secrets of Artsakh episode with him and showed the amazing photography he's done. He has allowed us to use his photography in our episodes. So, for example, today most of the content we're going to be covering will be taking in the area of Kars, or Kars, yeah, and he was gracious enough to send us some of the photography that he's done over the years. I mean, this man's traveled the entire world and taken pictures of our amazing churches, our landscapes.
Artsakh is awesome. So happy I purchased that.
Armenian Highlands, Van, I mean, so many things, plus the Khachkars. And so this episode will be sharing some of the pictures from his books, Yetgij, and also Khachkar. So the pictures are from there. If you guys want to follow him, his Instagram handle is at Haraid Hawk. We'll have that on the screen while these pictures will be showing. So definitely go give him a follow. And we are truly thankful to him. Haraid, if you're watching, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Another thing I want to mention, last week we talked about the blockade in the Lachen corridor. Again, you know, as we mentioned, it is an illegal blockade by the Azerbaijani government, and it's been over a month now. And we're asking all of you to help by going to saveartsakh.org and voicing your concern to the United States government and President Biden. It will take you a few minutes just to go there. It's basically already set up. Either you can make a phone call or you click on it. It will give you the opportunity to use your email to send an email. You don't have to pretty much fill out anything. It's pretty much automated. Again, that is saveartsakh.org. And let me just put that on the screen right here so you guys can see it. You know, the point where we are doing this is it's about unity. We want our entire Armenian community, the diaspora, everybody to unite. This is life or death. So doesn't matter what you're doing, you need to be part of this. And we're asking for your help. So please go do this on our behalf. I've done it like so many times already. And hopefully this whole thing ends soon because, you know,
it's pretty heavy.
It's a pretty heavy situation.
It's always heavy.
Every day right now, it's becoming dire and dire situation when it comes to the whole Artsakh situation in the Lachen corridor. So, what else? Oh, I want to mention the contest winner. So, all right. So, if you guys watched or listened to our 50th episode celebration, where we were reflecting on pretty much everything we've covered in this year and a half that we've been doing this, and also goofed around with many guests and stuff. So we had a contest going. We had 3 questions, and you know, it was you're going to win a hat or a shirt, and then the last tough question was basically you're going to win a sculpture of your choice. Nobody got it. Okay, so it's been what, 3-4 episodes after that.
But it's been when was this? When did we do the 50th episode?
I don't know, like 4 or 5 episodes back or something like that.
I think it was longer than that.
Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. But so finally we got an email, and the question was, in which episode did Vic, yours truly, show off his vocal skills? And nobody got back to us until not today, a couple of days back. And
I know somebody asked in the chat last episode?
And it was her. So the winner is Stephanie Prohorov. I'm sorry if I butcher that. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's Prohorov, I think. Stephanie, if you're in the live chat, I apologize, but thank you. You're the winner. You should have received it by now. I'm hoping, Stephanie. If not, it'll be there the next day. But she won, and she requested for the Tigran sculpture. So thank you for actually participating, but she got it right. And it was season 1, episode 18, the Artashes dynasty that we covered. And it was
It
when,
was a wonderful performance.
yes, yes. And it was when the princess was singing to Artashes, right? It was saying, I speak to you, oh brave Artashes, for you have defeated the brave Alan people. So, anyways, it was fun, good times. But yeah, so she's the winner. Stephanie, thank you again. I know she's always watching and part of the chat. And those of you who are in the chat, please go ahead, converse. We love it. We're here with you. We'll answer back as we are taking breaks here, when depending who's reading and who's talking.
We should have future contests
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this,
And then
which means we have to further embarrass ourselves a little bit more and make sure people are watching.
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I'm okay with it.
I also want to thank Lucine Harikimian, who is our first YouTube member. She was brave enough to join. Guys, we want everybody, if you see there's a member button right below, click on that and you become a member. There's different stages. I think it starts at $2.99. And the point of this is for us to build a community. Okay. And as
That's
a member,
first and foremost.
yeah, that's the first thing. We want to build a community. With that donation, you're helping us to do more production. And like, for example, the pictures that we're going to be sharing took me pretty much a day and a half to put this together, make sure it's running together, you know, the photos and everything.
And again, guys,
Yeah.
it's just the two of us doing this.
Yeah. So again, we do this out of love and fun. So it helps with that and equipment costs and all that stuff, all these platforms that we use. But besides that, it's about building a community, and you guys get to have perks depending what level you decide to be part of. And once the community grows big enough, then we can have like
Really
live shows just for the members. And then we can have one-on-one direct shows with just you, conversations. Specifically, maybe Mike can be helping you out with, if you're interested in 3D art. I don't know. I do cabinetry, so can help you with stuff. But anyways,
hey
we
man,
want to interact. But
you're good with information.
well,
and you're good with
video editing,
all
music, and all
this
that stuff. Yeah,
man.
Yes. Production. That's my thing. And then at the same time, you know, we can historical, like we can have one-on-one, you know, if you want to, let's say there was an episode or a subject you want to talk about, debate conversations, we can do our research and just have a good time.
And maybe you're knowledgeable about something that we're not.
Yeah. There you go. Hey,
I mean,
we're learning.
We're learning. We've learned from a lot of our guests.
Yeah.
We really have. We've actually had a couple of guests here live who are professionals in archaeology and other historical time periods.
Yeah. Fact. So again, thank you to Lucine for becoming our first member. So you can be a member as well by clicking on that button.
Mer Herosner.
Yeah. All right, enough with all that information. So as I mentioned today, we are going to cover King
Abas
Bagratuni.
Brother of King Abas.
Interesting, you know, and we'll talk about this, but he kind of took over at a very crucial time and
Still turbulent.
And especially internally trying to now control the situation and you know, unite officially, because I think after him is when the official unification, you can say, came.
But this is what we talked about the previous 3 historical episodes, not the interviews, of course, were the precedent to and the buildup, the turmoil or the dust settling is now happening, beginning to happen. That was the turmoil. Yeah. Right? Now we're getting into how things are kind of starting to take shape.
Yeah.
Mold in
sort
a way.
of. Yeah.
We're not there yet, but sort of.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start, and you guys enjoy the pictures that we're going to be sharing with you guys. All right, so in 929, Abbas succeeded his elder brother, Ashot II the Iron, as the new king of Armenia. Abbas reigned for 24 years until 953. During his rule, the kingdom of Armenia strengthened socio-economically, politically, and militarily. When he rose to the throne, Armenia was still in many ways divided, having 2 other kings, Gagi Kartruni and Sparapet Ashot, claiming the title of King of Armenia. Gradually, Abbas would succeed in asserting his position as the sovereign monarch of the Kingdom of Armenia. Abbas is first mentioned in Armenian primary sources surrounding the events of the murder of his father, King Sambat I in 914. The 11th century Armenian historian Stefan of Tharon notes that after the death of his father, Abbas withdrew to his relative Gurgen Bagratuni, who ruled the region of Kakhet in Georgia, while his brother Ashot went to Constantinople in order to receive support from the Byzantines. And we talked about this. He was gone for about 10 months or so. Now, fun fact, Kakhet is actually translated in Armenian and it means hung grapes, which there is a wine, I guess a wine style called Kakhet, which is interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever had that kind of wine, Armenian wine. I don't know. I haven't. So
that was an interesting fun fact.
Yeah. Now, Abbas wed one of the daughters of Gurgen of Kakhet and returned to Armenia in 916 to help his brother Ashot the Iron, who had also returned to his realm with the Armeno-Byzantine military contingent in order to clear the kingdom from the occupying forces of the emir of Atropatene, Yusuf.
Well, that didn't take too long.
Yeah, last time I'm going to mention his name. King Ashot II named Abbas as the Prince of Princes of the Ishkhanans Ishkhan, which suggests that Abbas was chosen by the king as his heir apparent.
It was already written.
Yeah.
It was written.
Yeah, but we'll get into that because there was a little bit of a...
Not necessarily written, but according to this little excerpt, it was destined, so to speak.
But, he was, again, just to kind of reflect on what I just read, him taking power and not being recognized. I mean, really, he was the king of Armenia.
He was the heir apparent.
So because of the fact that you had Gagi Kartruni and you had the other Ashot pretty much.
Still the tale of three kingdoms, so to speak.
Their ego is still, I'm
Absolutely.
the real king. So
you're not going to have that power.
Yeah, he
let go.
Yeah, so what he inherited wasn't the best situation, you can say. So, by the way, the pictures you guys are seeing, these are pictures from the Gars region. A lot of the landscape and the churches, so forth. You'll see the actual the fortress of Gars. So, anyways, moving on.
So Abbas, after liberating much of central Armenia. The Bagratuni brothers went to Gugark, where the Gunduni lords Vasak and Ashot had rebelled against the Armenian king. Ashot the Iron demanded them to submit, but the brothers had called upon the forces of the Emir of Tbilisi, as well as the other allies from northern Caucasus. Although King Ashot II and Abbas's forces were outnumbered, the Bagratuni brothers were able to score a victory and restored their control in the province of Gugark. However, after initial successes and unity around 919, Abbas had quarreled with his brother, of course.
Yeah.
More of that internal fighting. And according to Hovannes Drashkhanakertsi, along with Gurgen Bagratuni, hatched up a plot to assassinate his brother.
Interesting, huh?
More of this internal debauchery, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the exact reason for the two brothers' quarrel is unclear. And there has been much speculation by historians why, after a number of important victories against Yusuf's army...
Second time.
Should
we do it like a bell every time?
Here we go. Boom. Against Yusuf's army, the two brothers had a fallout.
Yeah.
The primary sources, you would think that would bring them together, right? You would think. The primaries, right. The primary sources are silent about Abbas's whereabouts and activities after 919 until his rise on the Armenian throne in 929 after the death of his brother Ashot II. That's really interesting. He just kind of came out of the shadows, so to speak. I mean, not necessarily, but
just rode in him his horse.
Just like, all right, I'm the guy in town, right? Historians have pointed out that in all probability, the two brothers did not reconcile, and Abbas only returned to Armenia, most probably from Iberia, after finding out about the passing of his brother.
Yeah.
We also do not know how Abbas was able to secure his throne in light of other contenders that also claimed the crown of the king of Armenia as their own.
Yeah. There isn't much information about that.
To your point, what you said earlier, these people aren't going to let go of the power, right? In certain select provinces or areas they govern or
Yeah.
are kings of.
Yeah. Well, when Abbas succeeded his brother, the kingdom of Armenia was in many ways a house divided. Armenia was a decentralized state divided into separate principalities and opposing family dynasties vying to extend their power over their rivals. In the south, Gagi Gartruni, who from his mother's side was the grandson of Ashot the first Bagratuni, who we talked about restored the kingdom of Armenia, ruled in Vaspurakan until his passing in 943, laid claim to the title of the King of Armenia, while parts of the Ararat province until his passing in 934 were ruled by Sparapet Ashot, son of Shapu and grandson of Sambat the first Bagratuni, who also claimed the title of King of Armenia, and for his defiance of Ashot Iron, he was referred as the Anti-Ashot.
Anti-Ashot.
Anti-Ashot. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, they're both from, grandchildren of their grandfather, who was,
Yeah. Was
you know,
the king.
the king, so.
But again, that leaves that, as we've seen in the past, we've talked about this numerous times. It leaves a power struggle or like a egos clashing, right?
Yeah. Well, it seems that after the death of Ashot the Iron, he was referred. After the death of Ashot the Iron, Sparapet Ashot was able to expand his domain throughout the Ararat province. Thus, Abbas faced the challenge of asserting his supremacy throughout the realm by effectively sidelining his two rivals.
Smart guy.
Yeah. In fact, when Abbas rose to the throne in 929, Gagi Gartsuni was considered a more powerful sovereign who enjoyed the recognition of the caliphate as the Shahnashah, or the King of Kings of Armenia and Iberia, or Malik Armenia, the Wu Jurzan, I guess that's how you said, in Arabic, and similar position and title as ruler of rulers, or Arkanton in Greek. That suggests the same status by the Byzantine Empire.
I had trouble with that one a few times.
Arkanton. Yeah. The reason for Abbas's difficulty in securing the recognition to the throne might have also stemmed from the fact that Abbas was not the son, but the younger brother of Ashot the Iron, who was noted earlier did not produce an offspring of his own. So he never had any children.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
Thus, the question of lawful succession to the throne, which was inherited by the sovereign's children or by a childless sovereign's nearest collateral line and was determined by descent, gender, legitimacy, and religion, was left open. The fact that Gagi Gartsuni, unlike Abbas, was a well-established sovereign during and after the reign of Ashot the Iron was also helped to cement his paramount authority in the eyes of the many Nakharas and outside players. Key term, outside players. Of course. Thus, Abbas, through patient and diligent work, had to gradually consolidate his own standing in order to secure his legitimacy as the new king of Armenia.
I could imagine how many hurdles. We don't really get into too many of these details.
Yeah.
Sorry, a little bit of a spoiler there, but I can imagine all the hurdles he had to go through.
Yeah.
Considering you've got this line of succession argument between certain powers, whether from the outside players, or whether from the inside with the Nakharas and who you're trying to side with and who's trying to side with you and support your claim and support this other person's claim or not claim.
Yep.
I'd be curious to see what kind of issues, not necessarily, let's say, with our history, but other types of histories. I mean, we've heard of murders and killings and things like this, but it'd be really interesting to find out what kind of hurdles he went through, especially with two people that were basically claiming to be the King of Kings in the region.
Well, unfortunately, there isn't too much details.
No, there isn't.
At least that we know of. So it's left to the imagination at this point.
Well, one of the first things he did to get to the throne was to proclaim the city of Kars, as you guys are seeing on our screen, as the new capital of Armenia. In fact, prior to him becoming king, Abbas ruled Kars as its governor. So he had some clout
Yeah.
He already got his way in there. The city began to grow and expand in the end of the 9th century with the restoration of the Kingdom of Armenia. That process only intensified in the first half of the 10th century. Abbas perhaps trying to match the architectural initiatives undertaken by his rival Gagi Kartruni, who earlier from 915 to 921 ordered the erection of the Cathedral of the Holy Apostles on the island of Akhtamar, along with the adjoining palaces and ports, as we've mentioned, the crazy stuff that they did. At the base of the citadel of Ghars, ordered the erection of the Cathedral of Ghars, which was also known as the Church of Holy Apostles.
You're looking at it on the screen?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect timing there, buddy.
I know, right?
Which began in 930 and was completed in 942. Not surprisingly, other prominent houses, such as the Sunnis and others, in order to showcase and underline their own importance, also erected such important religious monasteries and palaces throughout their domains. So that's we've talked about this before. It was kind of like a power flex type of deal, not necessarily, but we've seen that throughout history in different cultures as well.
Showing
It's
off
not
their
just,
house.
it's not just with, Armenians. The cathedral of Saints Paul and Peter of the monastery of Tatev in Syunik, erected from 895 to 906. In one such example, the monastery was founded with the establishment of the Church of St. Gregory the Illuminator, built between 836 and 848 with the order and financial support of Prince Philip of Syunik.
Yeah.
Interesting character.
We'll get to him.
Yeah. However, the St. Gregory Church was much simpler compared to the churches that were added later on. This was perhaps due to the fact that the church was built prior to the restoration of the Kingdom of Armenia in 885, as in the previous centuries during the domination of the Caliphate. Armenian architectural construction had come to a virtual standstill. I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
And really experienced a major boom in the second half of the 9th century and especially the 10th century for obvious reasons. Once they started getting rid of the Yusufs
and the entire caliphate. I mean, they were so... I forgot about that.
I had to do it.
Good catch. But, obviously during that, I mean, they were so busy with dealing with war, and plus, they had so many pressures from the caliphate that didn't want the churches and Christianity to grow, because it was a threat to them.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, according to Stepan Orbelian, the 13th century Armenian historian and the metropolitan bishop of the province of Syunik, who wrote the history of the province of Syunik, King Sambat I Bagratuni, Gagi Kartruni, and many other notables of Armenia were present during the 906 consecration of the Cathedral of St. Paul and Peter of the monastery of Tatev.
Interesting, huh?
Very.
All three of them.
It was an all-star gathering, right?
Can you imagine that? All three of them? I
wonder how they were around each other.
That's what I was just going to say. Can you imagine them standing next to each other? What I so fucking love them.
The awkward stare across, like,
yes, sir.
Without a doubt, the event of the cathedral left a strong impression on both King Sambat I and Gagik Artsuni, who would later also generously patronize the construction of such monastic complexes throughout their domains.
Yeah. Well, they needed that inspiration to go flex and show off. Well, look what I can do. Look what I can build.
Well, that's what he built.
Hey, they built some amazing structures. So, motivation is everything, right?
Thank you for the, I don't know, animosity, resentment, jealousy, envy, whatever it is.
Whatever it was.
You
it
guys
worked.
built some stuff next to this.
Yeah, so good on you guys. So the Cathedral of Kars is a centrally planned domed tetraconch, and tetraconch is basically
I think
four-sided
we talked
dome,
about,
I guess, upon the blueprint of the 7th century church of St. John of Mastara. The main entrance of the church is on the western side and also has 2 additional gates on the south and north sides. The cathedral's interior plan is reflected in the exterior volumes. 4 apses radiate from a central square bay over which rises a circular dome. Externally, the right angles of the square between the conches protrudes about 3 meters beyond the side of the apsis. So just kind of picture that. Um, inside they are represented by 4 dihedral angels, I guess. Yeah, angels or angles. Sorry, angles.
yeah.
Each surmounted with a squinch. Stepan of Taron, or Asorik, wrote that that King Abbas built the holy cathedral of the city of Kars with sandstone blocks that were polished. Thinking of something else. Polished with steel. They're not published. They're polished with steel.
Yes.
The cathedral was surmounted by a circular dome whose ornamentations resembled the heavens. The cathedral remained operational until 1920. In late 1920, the Kemalist troops illegally invaded and occupied Kars, which during this time was internationally recognized as part of the Republic of Armenia. And we're gonna cover this. By the way, we have an episode coming up, possibly with Gevorg Nazarian, that we're gonna talk about this timeline. The cathedral was abandoned for many decades and operated as a warehouse until in 1993 it was converted by a Turkish mosque by the government.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, can you imagine it was used as a warehouse? What disrespect that is.
Well, I mean, since you can keep it that way, you're not going to look like, I mean, I'm not saying this was their motive, but it kind of made sense to them, because if it's a building that maybe isn't being used for religious purposes, you're not kicking out religion and taking,
I'm just surprised
I don't know.
UNESCO didn't get involved, but to preserve it and kind of say, hey, what are you doing? But see, there you go. They converted it into a mosque. Now it's considered a mosque. So an average person that's visiting Kars right now will probably not
That's
even
a really
know.
good point about UNESCO. I'm not trying to get into some sort of conversation about that, but
Anyways,
yeah, that's an interesting point.
yeah. What do you guys think? I
haven't even thought of it
What do you
that way,
think?
to be honest with you.
For me, the way I see it is, you can chime in the chat. It's like now an average person that doesn't know anything about our culture or history goes to Kars, sees this.
Well, I mean, look at what's going on right now with Artsakh.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
the
that's what I'm
Azeris
saying.
are going to
It's
be there, right?
yeah.
So, like, what are they going to do with the churches? Are they going to
Yeah.
turn them into? Are they converting
Yeah.
them into mosques?
Yeah.
Is UNESCO going to do anything about it?
Well, that's the thing. See, the issue isn't about like right now. It's
And
about 10,
what
20
are-
years from now,
sure.
right? Same situation.
Sure.
So you go there, they don't know what
What
it
are,
is.
what, are the, what are the technicalities? What do they look at? What is there some sort of rule book? Is there some
No,
sort of
no,
protocol?
no.
I'm
Yeah.
asking normal.
Yeah. That's how
pertinent
history is
questions, right?
erased, So,
Yeah.
and if we don't talk about this, they don't know that this was an Armenian church.
I mean, Hagia Sophia was a church.
Yeah.
It was a cathedral.
Yeah.
Built by an Armenian.
Yep.
In 931, the Byzantine army under the outstanding Armenian general John Kurkuas, or Hovannes Gurgen in Armenian, renewed its offensive on the eastern frontier.
We talked about
Yeah.
this in
Yeah,
the last
the
episode.
great general.
Yeah.
One by one, Armenian towns of Garin, Malatya, and others fell to the Byzantines, which was, if we know our history, which was inevitable. That was bound to happen.
Yeah.
During this time, Gagi I Artsuni also allied himself with the Byzantines as he faced a renewed war with Said Emir Mufli. Now, remember that name. We're going to hear it a little bit more. Might be sort of the new Yusuf, who had succeeded Yusuf after the latter's death in 928. How many times have we mentioned them before? Three today?
Yeah,
Three, four?
I think this was the fourth time.
Yeah. General Gurgen marched his army into Vaspurakan in order to aid Gagik Arachin, or the first, who had rallied the local Armenian princes against Mufli. Gurgen's army also raided the Kaisite Emirate, which had established itself on the northern shores of Lake Van and leveled Khlat and Berkri to the ground. Brutal. Before marching into Mesopotamia and capturing the Armenian town of Shamshat once again. Gagik was unable to capitalize on his capture of Kaisite territory, as Mufli immediately launched a new offensive into Vaspurakan.
Yeah.
Emir Said ibn Hamdan of the Hamdanid Emirate, I hope I said that correctly, that ruled a territory in northern Syria and Iraq, attacked the Byzantines and drove them back. Shamshat was again abandoned, and in November of 931, the Byzantine garrison withdrew from Malatya.
Back and forth again.
Yeah. Well, the turmoil begins here, right?
Yeah.
In 933, General Gurgen renewed the attack against Malatya. Abbasid General Munis al-Muzaffar sent forces to assist the beleaguered city, but in the resulting skirmishes, the Byzantines prevailed, of course they did, and took many prisoners, and the Abbasid army returned home without relieving the city. In early 934, at the head of 50,000 men, General Gurgen again crossed the frontier and marched towards Malatya. This time, along with Shamshat, taking it for good and fully incorporating it into the Byzantine Empire.
Can you imagine 50,000 of his men, his army just coming at you?
That's just a massive number. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't even get that today. Like, I'm not saying there are wars like that happening today, but like the time we've been alive,
Yeah.
like you don't even see like 1,000 dudes charging. It's just all
it's always
gunfire.
little units here and there. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy, man. It's still mind blowing.
That's a vision right there, too. Yeah. Now, Lashkari ibn Mardi, one of the rulers of Atropatene, who briefly ruled the area for about a year or so in 938, launched a new invasion of Vaspurakan, but in a crucial battle was defeated by Gagi Kartuni's general Atom Anzevatsi and was killed on the battlefield. Bye-bye. This was an important victory not only for Gagi Kartuni, but also for Abbas Bagratuni. The 10th century Arab chronicle Ibn Hawkal noted that after 937, Atropatene no longer attacked Armenia, as the situation had changed in favor of the Armenian side. In fact, Daysam ibn Ibrahim al-Kurdi, or simply Daysam.
I like Daysam.
Yeah, we'll just go with Daysam, who was a Kurdish commander who ruled Atropatene between 938 and 955, was on good terms with Gagi Kartuni.
So the Kurds were good with us, man.
Yeah, there's always been a good relationship with the Kurds.
Historically, yes, there has.
Historically, there has. It's just there's that brief genocide moment that they.
I was about to say the same thing. Sometime in the 18th, 19th century.
Yeah, and I think they were persuaded,
of course,
with a lot of the. Well, we won't get into that.
Outside forces.
Yeah, outside forces. Thus, Armenia during these years did not face serious threats from the territory of Atropatene. However, a new security challenge arose with the rise of the Hamdanid dynasty. Hamdanid?
See, am I saying it right? Or
I looked it up. It's some places is Hamdanid. I don't know. So what do we call it?
I don't know. Let's
Hamdanid. Let's call it Hamdanid.
Do we play rock, paper, scissors?
I don't know, guys. What is it? Is it Hamdanid?
I think it's Hamdanid.
I looked it up. There was not really a way.
I mean, it's named after the guy. What was his name? Something Hamdan?
No. Ibrahim al-Kurdi? No.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, he was here. He was named. It was named after him.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
okay.
Anyways.
Are we serious?
No, yeah. Emir Said ibn Hamdan.
Hamdan. Okay, so Hamdanid. Okay, so it's Hamdanid. All right, so Hamdanid dynasty of northern Mesopotamia and Syria. As we noted earlier, during the 930s through 940s, the Byzantines under General Hovhannes Kurkoas launched a new military campaign against the Abbasid Caliphate and its allies. The Hamdanid commander Sayaf al-Dawal led an army to Shamshat when it was being besieged by Gurgen's army. A revolt in his rear forced him to abandon the campaign, and he only managed to send a few supplies to the town, which fell soon after. In 938, he raided the region around Malatya and captured Kahbert.
And just this non-stop back and forth.
It's funny.
One group is attacking another, trying to take over another, and then they're getting hit from behind. They have to retreat. Their objective was. And this is happening a lot.
Yeah.
It's not just like one-on-one war.
Yeah.
You know, one guy's taking advantage of this guy's weakness. This guy's like, okay, well, they're attacking. Let me take care of this. And
not just that. It's like, they finally kind of, this whole thing with Yusuf was done. And
power vacuum. We talked about
and
it.
then all of a sudden, like you have this period of you're like, oh, let's like start rebuilding. Nope. Now we have the
No.
Hamdanid,
Yeah.
dynasty coming up.
Oh yeah,
So
it's like they've got their own
never
agendas.
stops.
Of
Never
course,
stops.
never stopped. So during this crazy time period, about 939, 940, Saif invaded southwestern Armenia and was able in the Armenian town of Datvan and was able to secure a pledge of allegiance from, this is kind of crazy, I don't know, this was a good move, I guess, from the Kaisite Emir Ahmad ibn Abd al-Rahim, Ashot III Bagratuni of Taron, and Gagik Artsuni of Vaspurakan. Three pretty prominent heads, right? This expedition temporarily broke the Byzantine advance towards Garin, but Saif al-Dawlah's preoccupation with his brother's war in Iraq over the next years meant that it was not followed up.
Yeah.
They didn't take care of this. This was a major mischance, as the historian Mark Withow has noted. A more sustained policy could have made use of the Armenian fear of the Byzantine expansionism and eventual absorption into the Byzantine Empire.
Yeah.
Indeed, as a result of Saif's invasion, the Sassoon and Mush regions of Taron were taken over by the Hamdanids, which in turn weakened the Bagratuni Principality of Taron, and in 967, because of all this, facilitated its annexation by the Byzantine Empire. It was inevitable.
Yeah.
It was going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
Like I know it was a little bit of a spoiler earlier, but I mean, if you know your history, you know we ended up in their hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taron's last local Bagratuni ruler was Ashot III, who ruled it from 940 until his death in 967.
We'll talk about that.
Yep.
That'll be coming up.
Ashot was the son of Gregory I of Taron and half-brother of Bagrat II of Taron. After Gregory I's death, sometime between like 923 to 936, I believe, Ashot and his half-brother Bagrat assumed the rulership, but their power was limited to only one part of Taron. About a half was controlled by their cousin Tornik Bagratuni. Interesting name.
It's Tornik, isn't
Tornik.
Tornik,
Tornik? Yeah.
Tornik Bagratuni.
Tornik,
Well,
grandson.
Tornik grandson, but I think
Grandson.
it's pronounced Tornik.
Tornik, yeah.
I don't know. I could be
whatever.
wrong, but-
Interesting. I'd actually never come across that name until this article.
I've
we
heard
put
of it.
together.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
A struggle erupted between the cousins, not surprised, forcing Tornik to hand his lands over to the Byzantine Emperor Romanos I Lekapenos. When Tornik died, Romanos sent envoys to take over the territories promised. But Ashot and Bagrat managed to persuade the emperor to leave Tornik's lands to them in exchange for the fortress of Olnutin. We should have looked into the significance of this fortress.
I don't know if
Sounds, I know, but we should have looked into it, actually. It's interesting. If you
Well,
guys want
if
to
you guys become a member, you can help
you
us
guys want to
out.
look into it. I'm sure this played a very important
Yeah.
role for this, because handing over that fortress in exchange for lands, that's quite significant, right?
Yeah.
However, after the passing of Ashot III in 967, the Byzantine Empire annexed Taron, as we talked about, and its local Bagratuni nobility, known as the Taronites, became one of the many prominent Armenian aristocratic houses and imperial dynasties of the Byzantine Empire.
Yeah. So in a way, it worked out for them as the aristocrats that they are, or they
Yes.
were. It
Yes.
kind of helped them, right? Yeah. I mean, to be part of the Byzantine Empire and have that notable name.
Yes and no. You know, like it all depends on what the situation. It wasn't too dire to be under the Byzantine rule during this time.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So I guess to your point, it might have been not a very bad situation to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, throughout the 930s, King Abbas was consolidating his power. After the death of Spotapet Ashot in 934, Abbas was able to incorporate the territories of Spotapet Ashot into his realm. This is evidence that by the early 940s, Abbas was already par with King Gagik I Artsuni, since the latter's position had somewhat weakened as a result of Saif's invasion of Vaspurakan. the Artsuni king took on the brunt of the fighting against the enemies of Armenia, which indirectly helped Abbas to further strengthen his potential. So Abbas didn't help him.
No.
Interesting. After Gagik Artuni's passing in 943, the throne of the kingdom of Vaspurakan passed to his son Derenik, who ruled from 943 to 959. However, Derenik was not able to assert himself as the preeminent king of Armenia,
And you ask yourself why he didn't help him.
as as was done by his father Gagik I. King Derenik Artsuni remained both de jure and de facto as the king of Vaspurakan and did not claim to be king of all Armenia and Iberia.
Smart move, by the way.
Yeah, he was like, man, I'll leave this up to you. Yeah, you
you're
deal
gonna-
with it.
you're gonna-
I'm good with this.
You're going to fail eventually anyway.
Yeah. This affirmed by an account of Catholicos Anania, the first of Mok, who was the Catholicos of Armenia from 946 or 949. Nobody really knows. I think there was an issue with the 6 being upside down or not. To 968. Anania the first referred to King Derenik Artsuni as the king of Vaspurakan, while the same passage referred to King Abas Bagratuni as the king of Armenia. The historical momentum had finally swung in favor of King Abbas, who after 943 was able to occupy and strengthen his position as the leading sovereign of the king of Armenia. By this time, Abbas controlled most of the territory of the Ararat province, including Shirak, as well as parts of Gugark, Taik, Sunik, Utik, and Turaberan province of Armenia. Something about Turaberan. Turaberan is basically, it falls like if you look at the map of where Lake Van is, so the west shore, and it's a huge area.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Turaberan. And it's funny if you think about the name in
Yeah.
Armenian written, it's Turuberan.
Yeah.
Turuberan. Yeah. So it was like Turuberan. So that's where, I'm assuming that's where most trade was happening. That's where they kind of named it.
Well, it was.
Could be wrong. There isn't really an explanation why that name was.
all around Von was trade. But from the west, you can imagine there was a lot of trade coming in from the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah. By the early 940s, Abbas was strong enough to help his relative and close ally, Gurgen Bagratuni of Kakhket, strengthen his position in Iberia. King George II, who ruled the kingdom of Abkhazia on the shores of the Black Sea, northwest of Iberia, quarreled with Gurgen Bagratuni over the Black Sea coastal territory, including the territory of Ajara and adjoining areas. So it was all about the port, right?
Of course,
So-
by the water, right? Black Sea.
So
Control of
important.
Black Sea,
So
of course
important.
it was.
George II allied himself with Bagratunis of Taik, who, unlike Abbas Bagratuni, supported George against Gurgen. Abbas helped to secure the area of Gurgen. However, in 941, after the order of the latter's, no, where am I? I just lost my spot. I'm sorry.
941.
Yeah, 941, after the latter's passing, there you go. Abbas came face to face with the king of Abkhazia, George II. Dun dun dun.
Georgi. I bet you his name was Georgi.
Yeah. In order to diminish Abbas's influence over Iberia, George II, sometimes around 943, launched an invasion of northern Armenia. But George II's forces were unsuccessful, and Abbas was able to win a number of decisive victories, which assured his supremacy throughout much of Iberia.
I feel like George II is like one of those kings in like one of those movies that just pops up on a journey, on another journey.
It's like, who are you?
Who are you? I'm the king of this land.
My name's George.
You shall not enter. And that's it. You never see him again. He
And
loses the
Abbas
battle.
goes, Arayesova.
That's it. We never see George.
Yeah.
You shall pass.
Yeah.
Shall pass.
Gotta make light of it.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Sorry, my imagination goes wild sometimes. Too many movies in the past. Clearly, we can note that in the early period of his rule, from 929 to 943, King Abbas gradually consolidated his power and grew to paramount strength and prominence throughout Armenia. In the last decade of his rule, between the years of 943 to 953, the only threat, and this is really important.
Yeah.
The only threat that once again started to rear its head was coming from the ruler of Atropatene, a Salarid ruler by the name of Marzuban ibn Muhammad, who, after defeating Armenian ally Daisam in the early 940s, again wanted to expand his influence over or on Armenia.
Yeah.
Marzuban was only able to take the city of Divin, which was important. We always know that the city of Divin was big and important, and suffered a series of setbacks against Abas Bagratuni. Marzuban, after 944, was also preoccupied with other military campaigns when, in the spring of 944, the Rus, who enters the picture, invaded Marzuban's domain. Coming up the Gur River, the Rus occupied the I lost my place.
Yeah, the Armenian town.
Occupied the Armenian town of Partov and advanced further south.
I think I need to make these texts a little bit bigger.
We're good. No, that'll be too big. Marzuban's army, which included many volunteers eager to fight the infidel Rus, was numerically superior to the raiders. Despite this, the Salarid army was defeated several times. It was only after the Rus had been weakened by disease that he managed to ambush and kill 700 of them. Marzuban then advanced further north, laying siege to Partov, but received news that the Hamdanid emir of Mosul, Nasir al-Dawla, had sent against him his own nephew, al-Husayn, or maybe Hussein, I don't know, maybe that's the way it's spelled, with the objective of taking over Atropatene. So, like I was saying earlier, you've got one guy with a clear motive to attack something else, right? And then, they're going, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Now this guy sends his nephew.
Everybody's looking for their opportunity.
Yeah. Every single time, right? It's a complete...
But he sent his own nephew against him.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, hey, your uncle is at war. Go get him.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So they send Al-Hussein, right?
Yeah.
Marzuban left a small force to keep the Rus in check. And in the winter campaign, sometime around 945, 946, was able to defeat his nephew, Al-Hussein. A short time later, Al-Hussein was recalled by Nasir al-Dawla, who was preparing for a war against the Buwaid emir of Baghdad. The Rus, after staying in Partov for 6 months, had left, taking with them as much loot and prisoners as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, one would, right?
Who were the Rus?
I don't know. Was that what they were called?
I don't know.
Should we look this up?
I don't know.
I mean, the Rus.
Guys, who were the Rus?
The Rus.
We didn't look it up.
Yeah, I mean, one would only assume that it would maybe be like, the original, maybe
Russians?
The Rus people. The history of the Rus is central to the 9th through the 10th century state formation and thus national origins in Eastern Europe. So it looks like
some kind of a European.
Yes, east. It says heading east from the 9th century onwards, these Vikings became known as the Rus.
Well, actually, it's funny. I know we're gonna
a moniker that lives on in the names of two countries, Russia and Belarus.
Yeah. So
maybe Baltic people.
I was talking to a gentleman a couple of weeks back. He's a friend, and he's fascinated with just world history. He mentioned something about that the Russian roots are actually coming from the Vikings.
Yeah, well, it's a mixture. They have their own mixtures up there.
Yeah, which is interesting.
It has to be.
Now, as we noted earlier, during this time, King Abbas continued to strengthen his positions. He proclaimed his eldest son, Ashot, future King Ashot III, the Merciful, who succeeded his father in 953 and ruled till 977. That will be the next episode, one-on-one episode that we do. Yeah. As the Prince of Princes, which, as we know, signified that he was chosen as the king's heir apparent. In 946, Abbas was also able to convince Catholicos Anania I of Mog to move his seat from the island of Akhtamar to Argina.
Dun, 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 dun.
a town near city of Ani.
And so it
That's where
begins.
it begins, yeah. Thus, Abbas was able to further strengthen his prestige and prominence and therefore undermine his Artsuni rivals by returning the seat of the Catholicos from Vaspurakan to Ararat. Historian Asorik tells us that during the reign of King Abbas, many new monasteries and secular buildings were erected throughout Armenia. Although Ani was proclaimed as the capital of Armenia in 961 by Abbas's son and successor, Ashot III, it was during the reign of King Abbas that Ani began to expand. A new cathedral was erected in the city by the order of Abbas. This is where the birth of Ani kind of started, the 1001 churches. It was in this new cathedral that Ashot III was crowned as the new king of Armenia in 953. Kind of set it up for it, Want my son to be... Yes,
it was his way of flexing his muscle, right?
In the last
what a glorious way of flexing his muscle.
In the last years of King Abbas's reign, the Byzantine Muslim wars had reignited. In 949, the Byzantines were able to finally take Karen. Byzantine successes against the Caliphate and various Muslim states helped to strengthen Abbas's position.
Yeah.
But at the same time, were a double-edged sword.
As is everything.
We've mentioned earlier that the threat of annexation of all of Armenia into the Byzantine Empire loomed at large.
Yeah, as is everything. Almost everything they do is a double-edged sword. Well, what can I get? What can I get? In many ways, King Abbas continued where his brother left off, Ashot II the Iron. He continued to clear the land of foreign invaders and united territories that had broken off or were under foreign dominion. In all probability, in the last years of his reign, King Abbas was able to restore the title of the King of Kings that prior to King Gagik Artsuni's passing in 943 was carried by the latter. This is supported by the fact that Abbas's son and successor Ashot III, the Merciful, was noted in Byzantine and Arabic sources with the title, which was also carried by the first Bagratuni kings, such as Ashot I, Sambat I, and Ashot II.
Yeah.
In the latter period of his reign as king, Abbas also focused his attention on strengthening the Armenian Apostolic Church by building new monasteries and cathedrals and opposing the spread of the Chalcedonian Creed throughout his realm. I looked into the Chalcedonian Creed. It stems back from the 5th century, and it was more or less during this time. I'm not going to get into the details. It's a little theological, but it was basically kind of, the Council of Nicaea, Chalcedonian Creed. They all had their own versions of who Jesus was it was like the secularism of that time. Right.
Yeah. Different branches.
Yeah. So it's interesting that he did it to kind of keep that portion of things away.
Well,
I'd be curious about the theological politics of the time, right?
Well, because
the religious politics of the
obviously,
time.
till this day, as culturally as Armenians, as Christians, we take pride in the fact that we practice Christianity the way the 12 apostles, the true way.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know what the real true, but that's why it's Apostolic Church. Hence the name. So, obviously, when you have a way of viewing, and then somebody else comes in and says, no. Here's how, like how everything with the Catholic Church happened,
it's secularism.
Yeah.
Secularism.
So I don't blame him. I really don't blame him.
No. I mean, he had his what do you call it? His, he had one side that he was swaying against, I suppose.
Speaking of theology,
good segue.
Yeah, I want to mention we're waiting for confirmation if it happens next live following Thursday. We'll be with a theologist.
Yes.
And we're going to be covering pre-Christian Christianity, the whole 301 AD and everything else. So it's
going to be super interesting.
So we're waiting for that. If he confirms, we'll be live with him. We'll post all that stuff on Instagram.
We'll get him eventually.
Yeah.
The provinces of Syunik, Artsakh, and Utik that also showed centrifugal tendencies were also brought under the central jurisdiction of the Catholicosate. I could never say that word right.
Catholicosate.
Catholicosate
Yeah, I
of
guess.
the Holy See. Archbishop Hakop of Syunik was hesitant to recognize the spiritual seniority of the Armenian Catholicus Ananya of Mok in 946. In order to smooth things over, Catholicus Ananya ventured to Syunik and met their lords, Sambat and Jivanshir, along with Archbishop Hagop. So did Lord Ishkhanak, who during this time ruled the Armenian provinces of Artsakh and Utik and had earlier adhered to the Chalcedonian Creed. After Abbas's prudent actions recognized the supreme authority of the Bagratuni king,
Yeah.
and once again returned to the fold of the Armenian Apostolic Church. The Archbishop of Artsakh and Utik, following in the footsteps of Lord Ishkhanak, recognized the supremacy of the Catholicus Ananya of Mok.
Yeah.
This guy had some power,
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
say, right? And diplomacy.
Yeah. I've actually that's Catholicus of Ananya. If
We've mentioned his name before, but
Yeah,
never
many
got
times,
into
yeah.
what his significance was.
I'm hoping there'll be enough information about him because I do want to do. He's done a lot, so hopefully we can do an episode on him. So
He's an influential character, obviously, during
yeah.
the time period, right?
yeah. Now, the 20th century historian Leo noted that King Abbas was a worthy successor of his predecessors. He was a brave and steadfast monarch who devoted most of his energies to the security of his realm, who at the same time focused much of building new edifices. One of the first things that he did was to move the Bagratuni capital from Yerzagavors or Shirakavan, which being situated in the valley could not be easily defended, to the castle of Kars in the county of Vanand. The king also built here a great cathedral, which stands to this very day. To sum up the life of and work of King Abas Bagratuni, we must take into consideration that the Bagratuni king rose on the Armenian throne during a tumultuous time. During this time, the other kings, mentioned before, Gagi Kartsuni and Ashot Bagratuni, also claimed the title of King of Armenia. In fact, it was Gagi Kartsuni and not Abbas Bagratuni who was recognized as the supreme ruler or the king of kings of Armenia, while Ashot Bagratuni controlled vast areas in the Ararat province that were not subordinate to Abbas's rule. This term king of kings, I felt like
It's been thrown around quite a bit lately.
it was like the badge of honor or something. Like it was
before,
or the thing to be.
well,
Like,
listen, before, you know how we're going in a historical timeline here.
Yeah.
You remember before with the first century BC, Tigran Metz,
Yeah.
King of Kings,
Yeah.
right? And then who else was also
But Tigran Med's king of kings. I mean, come on, man.
okay?
I mean, you can't compare.
but see, now this is what I was going to get to. It meant this much.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, that word became inflation.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Like, it's
literally,
just like,
it's like the value just diminished and diminished and diminished. It's like like inflation kicked in for that particular phrase.
but I also
Because now it's just being thrown around. Why? Because you had Yusuf throwing crowns
at everybody. That's what I'm saying. It lost its it lost its meaning of, king of king. It's like,
Well, eventually, I mean, this is just what happens with things, right?
yeah.
Right? Like you have, I mean, how many emperors do you have? Emperor, I was emperor. Emperor this, emperor that. Now you have kings of provinces. Everybody has a province as a king.
Yeah.
I'm the king of this city. George was the king of a port. Or Abkhazia, but still.
Oh man. It was only in the 930s that Abbas began to slowly assert himself as the supreme lord of Armenia. In 934, after the passing of Ashot Bagratuni, Abbas was finally able to extend his rule over much of the province of Ararat. Not surprisingly, it was during this time that Abbas started to play a more active role in international affairs, helping to assert his authority not only in Armenia, but also neighboring Iberia as well.
Was always an important ally or territory.
Yeah.
In the late 930s, the neighboring state of Atropatene, which was southeast of Armenia, was no longer able to invade Armenia. This was due to both the strengthening of Armenia in general, as well as the weakening of the emirate of Atropatene. It is without a doubt that Abbas's power was strongest in the last decade of his reign, as we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
In 943, Gagi Kartsuni, who had passed away, and the political vacuum, the power vacuum, was quickly filled by King Abbas. Boom. Was quickly reunited, who quickly reunited political portions of Ararat province, earlier controlled by Gagi Kartsuni, with his own realm.
Yeah.
Gregory Derenik, Gagi Kartsuni's son and successor, also recognized Abbas's supremacy.
Yeah.
Around 943, Abbas was able to score a victory against King George II of Abkhazia.
King George.
Georgi.
I see more of a.
I don't know, man. He's from that area, bro. Like, you know, think of Georgians. Georgi.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go with George.
Georgi sounds
I still
fun.
picture him like King George.
George. There's too many English movies, man.
Well,
Way too many. Which, if I mean, it was always every other language. It could have been a Kazakhstan movie, and it would have been in English language.
yeah.
I'm the king of Kazakhstan. Sorry.
Oh,
Around. So he was able to score a bunch of victories in portions of Iberia, right?
yeah.
King Abbas passed away in 953 and was succeeded by his son Ashot III, the Merciful, who we will cover very soon, whose era is without a doubt marked by the great Armenian city of Ani,
Yeah.
which after its proclamation of Armenia's new capital in 961 became one of the greatest cities, and I stress greatest cities of the medieval world.
Yeah.
It truly was.
Yeah. Now, we'll cover more the life of work and everything he did in the city of Ani, Ashot the Merciful. The next episode that will be you and I, as you know, we'll dive more into the city
Ashot
of
the Third.
Ani, city of Ani, you know, and other important events. So stay tuned.
If you want to get a head start, we do have an episode of the city of Ani.
1001
We did a very big episode with City of Ani.
City of Ani, and then before that, we also have the one with Christina Moranzi. So,
Yep.
segueing into that, Christina Moranzi will be on our show in March, and we will be talking more detail about City of Ani from her perspective. She studied this.
She's like the pro of pros
yeah,
when it comes to
that.
City of Ani.
So again, we'll be covering Ashot the Merciful on the next episode that we do together. And then I don't know if that'll be next week. It all depends on our guest confirming. If our guest confirms, we will basically be, let's see. So next Thursday, if he confirms, we'll be basically live with him. And then if not, we'll do this one.
Also, for those of you that want to dive into any archaeological and historical research that someone has done on the city of Ani, look up Christina Moranzi's videos.
Yeah.
She has a bunch of presentations that she's done. I mean, it's exquisite.
Yeah.
The information she has is unbelievable.
Yeah. And then week after that, which will be the 26th, I believe, Elena will be joining us, and we'll be doing Queen Tamar. We'll have some amazing pictures to share with you guys with Akhtamar, the island of Akhtamar, the cathedral, pictures around Lake Van, and just pretty much
just all this awesome
just beautiful
stuff.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed these pictures that we shared with you guys. They're beautiful shots. So yeah,
Thank you.
that was
Thank you,
pretty much it.
Thank you, Hawk.
As far as King Abbas, you know, again, it's this Bagratuni family. You know, it was
It's
they
a
went
time
through
of
a lot.
revival.
Yeah,
This
it
was
is.
the time of revival.
It
right?
is, but
This was the Armenian golden age of coming almost. It's
yeah,
there.
but I feel like these first three men, and I should say four men, because I think Gagi Arturuni did a lot as well. As much as he was viewed as a traitor for a small period of time of what happened with you know, Ashot.
But he did good things in the Vaspurakan.
Yeah,
and
of course,
in Van.
of course, yeah,
Of course he did.
But I'm saying these men
good
went
came out of
through
it.
so much turmoil, and I think, and again, we haven't covered him yet, but I think Ashot the Merciful kind of got to enjoy
The dust suddenly.
Yeah. So, but,
more or
you know,
less.
these are great men. These are our great Armenian kings with their faults, with their mistakes, and everything they've done to preserve the Armenian kingdom, and we're getting to talk about them, learn about them. And again, for us, every episode
It's
is
a great time period to know about, the 9th, 10th, 11th centuries.
yeah,
Leading up to the Crusades, leading up to Kilikia.
yep,
Right?
yeah,
It's a phenomenal time
yeah,
period especially in Armenian history and world history.
yeah. What do you guys think? Did you like the episode? Let us know in the chat. And basically,
Yeah.
that's it.
This was
Yeah.
it's a like I said, it's a good time period. I'm excited that we've gotten to this point. Not discrediting anything prior, but
Yeah.
this is a really, really interesting pivotal point.
I know a lot of you are used to our shows being 2 hours, 3 hours when we have a guest. Obviously, this is part of, the information that we're talking about. So
Yeah.
they're not going as long as
For those of you that are
more than
new,
hour.
for
hour
those
10
of you that
so
are new, we
Yeah.
usually keep
the lives are
the
longer.
Mono y mono
Short.
short. Yeah, usually are.
Um,
Digestible.
Yeah, but I want to thank everybody who joined us on this episode on YouTube. You can always reach out to us after the
Anytime.
show. You can email us at pod@medherosner.com, or you can reach out to us on our Instagram, which is @medherosner. Follow us if you're not following us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or on Facebook. Like, share, follow us. I want to mention the promotion, the holidays promotion is still going on, guys. We're keeping this going for probably till end of this month. It's 20% off on anything throughout the stores, all the sculptures, even the pre-orders of Najde. By the way, we got an update today. The molds are pretty much done. They're going to start manufacturing soon. So again, our goal to get these shipped out end of this month and early February seems like it's still on track. So we're excited for that. And thank you to everybody who has pre-ordered these. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. If you haven't, go get them. medherosner.com. Use the promo code holidays, all capital letters. Here, we'll put it on the screen so you guys see it. And you get 20% off. Follow us on Twitter at Herosner. Again, we want you guys to join that member on YouTube. Click on that, become a member, support
Please.
the show.
Yeah.
And what else?
We're cool guys.
Yeah.
We'll hang out. We'll talk to you. You can come drink cognac with us.
Not every night.
Well, with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I always have a glass.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much it. So till the next episode,
Till
as
the
we
next
always
episode.
say, respect one another.
Love one another.
And till next week, take care of yourselves.